All right, guys, dude, we got to talk about the comic version of how Bruce and Barry meet Thomas Wayne, dude. Like, it is crazy, bro. Y'all need to go check it out. I think it's called Batman the Button, or it's called Batman and Flash the Button. Y'all need to go check it out, dude, because it's crazy, bro. So Barry and Bruce, they're working a case, right? So they're working a case, stuff like that, right? They need to travel, right, through this treadmill thing, right? And then Barry's telling him, like, dude, Barry tells Batman, like, dude, you have these injuries, dude, like, stuff like this, blah, 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 blah. And then Batman's like, dude, I know, you know, the dangers of time travel. I know the risk, bro. We're still doing this anyways, right? So they're traveling, right, through this treadmill thing, right? And Barry tells Batman, like, Wally's told me, like, you know, from all these years, right? And then obviously, you know, Batman says, like, are these different, like, alternative realities of, like, different worlds? And so then they finally get to the cave, right? But not just any cave, right? So they get to the cave, and then Batman tells Barry, he's like, hey, dude, I remember this place. You know, and then Batman tells Barry, like, dude, I've known this place, you know, ever since I was a kid. Did we go back in time? And then, you know, he looks at the family portrait, and then he looks at the gun, dude. He looks at the gun. He's like, that gun, dude. Huh. He's like, where are we? And then, you know, they meet up, you know, they're scrambling, they're thinking, like, dude, what's going on, right? So then Barry says, like, dude, the flashpoint was never supposed to be a thing, right? It was supposed to be an alternative history type of thing, right? And so then Thomas looks at Batman and he tells him, Bruce, why aren't you looking at me? So then they're trying to fix the treadmill, right? To get out of that timeline, right? So then they're trying to fix the timeline, right? And then Bruce tells his dad, it's like, you know, that letter you gave me was the greatest gift I could have ever gotten, right? And then he tells him that he's a grandfather and that he has a son. And then Bruce tells him, like, hey, Dad, come with me, please. So then they fix the timeline, and you know, they're trying to convince Thomas Wayne to go with them, you know, when they fix it. But Thomas Wayne declines it. He's like, no, dude, I am staying here. This is my timeline. Y'all have to get back to yours, bro. You know, so then, you know, they get the timeline going, and it's like, Flash, you promised me to help my son. Now do it. And Bruce is like, let go of me, Barry. And then Thomas says, you were my world, son. I delivered you myself. And the moment I saw you, I knew every choice I have ever been was the right one. It's like, dude. And then at the end, he, like, oh man, like, it's insane, dude. Y'all have to read this. It is called Batman and Flash. No, Batman and I believe it's called Batman and Flash the Button, bro. Y'all need to read it. It's crazy, dude.